Hello, my friends, and welcome once again to stately Vaughan Manor. So, today we're going to be talking about an obscure writer that you might possibly have heard of, Stephen King. Going to be talking Stephen King today because the other day, a few days ago, I gave myself a book challenge. And I invited all of you to join me in this challenge. Oddly enough, I haven't had any takers on this particular challenge. I'm shocked by that. I can't imagine why. But yeah, I gave myself a challenge that I would ask you guys for a bunch of author names, and you gave me a bunch of author names. I put them all on a wheel, and I vowed that I would read every book by the author whose name came up on the wheel. And Stephen King's name came up, much to my surprise. I mean, I saw his name on there on the list, and I thought, what are the chances that I'll get Stephen King? Pretty good, as it turned out. So yeah, Stephen King's name came up on the wheel. And so, true to my vow, I will read every book by Stephen King. Every book written by Stephen King. Yeah. Now, I've read, as I mentioned before, many books by Stephen King. As it turns out, most of the books that I've read by Stephen King, I've read a long time ago. Most of the books I've read by Stephen King, I read in the 80s and the 90s. I'd say the bulk of them I've probably read in the early 90s, mid 90s. So that was a long time ago. I was a wee bit younger then. My perspective was a little bit different, probably. Yeah. So it's been a while since I've read a lot of Stephen King. And I kind of have read some and kind of gave up on Stephen King for a while here, and then I read some more. So my Stephen King reading has been pretty spotty for this entire century so far, but I have read, looking through them, I have read quite a few of them. But I'm going to read them all again, even the ones I've read this decade. I'll read them all again. Because that's part of the challenge. I said I'd read every book by him, so I'm going to read every book by him. And so I've been doing a little research to find out what's in store for me here. So, Stephen King, according to my complicated research, has written 62 novels. He has published 11 collections of either short stories or novellas, so 11 of those. He's written 5 nonfiction books. He's written 19 screenplays, and just other random books, he's written 16. So, that's a lot. That's a lot to read. So, yeah. 62 novels, 11 collections, 5 books of nonfiction. The 19 screenplays, that's going to be, I don't think all of them were published as books, so I might get an out on some of those. And the others, some of those books I've checked out, and some of them are kind of, I think might be hard to get. I can probably manage it. Might be expensive, a couple of these. We'll see. Yeah, this is a lot of books, so I'm going to do it as cheaply as I can. So I'm going to do it, the way I'm going to do this challenge, the way I'm going to read Stephen King, every book by Stephen King. I'm going to read them in publication order, if I can, as they were published by Stephen King. For example, the books that he wrote under the name of Bachman, Richard Bachman, I think it was Richard Bachman, those books came out at the same time some of his earlier books did under that name, but they were not released under his own name until they came out as a set, as a collection, the Bachman books in 1985, I think, is when that book, the Bachman books came out. So that's how I'm going to read it, the Bachman books. I'll read them as they came out as a Stephen King book. Going to read them, of course, because I'm going to read everything by Stephen King that I can. But I'm going to, that's the point that I'm going to read them. The same way we did is if you were a Stephen King fan, reading every book that came out by Stephen King, that's when you would read them, is when they came out at that time. So yeah, that's how I'm going to do it. Some of, like I said, some of those other books, I'll get them if I can. If I can't get them in time to read them in publication order, then I will catch up with them. Some of his screenplays, now, screenplays are not his strongest suit. They're not what he's best at. So I'm pretty sure some of those were never published as books. I hope not, anyway. But I might watch the movies. I was thinking of that just to make this more complete, I would watch the films that he wrote screenplays for, like his awful TV version of The Shining. I don't know if you've ever seen that, man, but it's not good. But I might torture myself and make myself watch that. I'll find out whatever year that came out, and I'll watch it in the order as I read these books, just to really torture myself some more. I already have to read some books that are just not good books. I actually have a video that'll link down below about my thoughts on Stephen King. I have some pretty strong opinions, and I made a whole video about what I thought his 5 best books were of the books that I've read, and my opinion in general of Stephen King. And it's mixed. It's a mixed opinion. I think he wrote some great books. I think he wrote some books that are just not great at all. But you know what? Maybe my opinion will change of some of these books. Some of these books, like I said, I read a long time ago. Maybe I was in a bad mood when I read those books. Maybe my perspective is different enough that I will see something in these books that I did not see the first time. Maybe I'll read some books that I thought were great and I'll think they're crap now. Maybe. I think that's doubtful, but it could happen. So yeah, this is a long project. This project is going to take a while. Now, this is not one of those projects that's just going to disappear and like a year from now, I just won't talk about this and I'll have forgotten all about it. The same way with my comic book challenge that I did, where I'm going to read every issue of the X-Men, which is another huge undertaking. I'm not going to give up on that either. These are long-term projects that I am fully invested in. So yeah, I'll be talking about those things for a while. So I had to try to figure out a way, because it landed on Stephen King, and he's written so much. This guy writes all the time, and he's going to continue writing while I'm doing this. That guy. So I'm going to be really playing catch-up eventually. But I figure I'll have this done by the time I'm 80. I think by the time I'm 80, maybe I'll have this done. We'll see. I'll have to rush. But yeah, I'm going to keep this up. So this is the way I'm going to do it as far as my reading goes, because this is changing things because this author has written so much. Yeah, so this is how I'm going to do things. So this is what I'm reading right now, for example. I'm reading Dark Matter by Blake Crouch, which was the big BookTube Spin winner. Thanks, Working Man Reads for choosing my winner here, because it's a winner. Yeah, Working Man Reads. So yeah, that's what I'm reading right now. But the next 3 books, for example, I've also got another reading project going on right now, which is my vintage science fiction reading project. I got a huge box of vintage science fiction books from eBay, which I made an unboxing video of, and I vowed to read every one of those, so I'm going to do that. So I'm going to continue with that, and to be perfectly candid with you guys, that wasn't my first box of vintage science fiction books from eBay. I really do have a gigantic science fiction vault. I'm not just making that up. I have a massive amount of vintage science fiction. So once that box is done, oh, there's so much more. So this is going to be continuing. This is like a lifetime thing I'll be doing, vintage science fiction. I'll be reading these literally for the rest of my life and talking about them to you, for whoever wishes to listen and watch the videos. So this is a continuing thing. So the way I'm going to do it, like for example, the next Stephen King book I'm going to read, the first Stephen King book of the challenge is his first book, his first published novel, Carrie. I'll be reading that after I read Dark Matter. Then it'll be the next vintage science fiction book. Then it'll be another book, a book that I've just been sitting in my big TBR box. And that'll be this one, World of Trouble. Then I'll start again with the next Stephen King book, which is Salem's Lot. And I like this copy of Salem's Lot because it has a Clive Barker introduction, which is cool. I was really kind of hoping that spin would land on Clive Barker. But oh well. Stephen King. So yeah, then I'll be doing Stephen King. Then I'll be doing another vintage science fiction. And then I'll be doing something else. But I'm going to switch up the third book. Because every sixth book is going to be a recommended reads. Because that's another thing I said I was going to do, is read more books that were recommended by my lovely viewers. I've gotten a lot of book recommendations, so I'm going to be doing those too. In that every third book, I'm going to have a book that's not vintage science fiction or Stephen King, and one of the spots I'm going to fill are with some recommended reads. Every sixth book will be one of those. It's very complicated, I know, and you're like, you don't care, dude. Just talk about Stephen King, man. I know, sorry. But that's how I'm going to do it. That's what this video is about. How I'm going to do this stuff, because it's a daunting challenge and I had to figure it out. And so I figured out what the next few Stephen King books are. I'm going to read Carrie, then Salem's Lot is the one after that, and then I've got my creepy kid copy of The Shining I'll be reading, and then his first short story collection, which was released, I believe, before The Stand. It was the same year, but I think this came out before The Stand. I could be wrong. Anybody who knows better, let me know. So then it'll be this. Why did my light get all weird all of a sudden? Sorry, I'm a little washed out. And then it'll be The Stand. And he released The Stand twice. He released his big stand and his really, really, really big stand later, the unedited stand. I'm just going to read it once. So I'll read the unedited stand. And that's it. So I'll be reading The Stand after Night Shift, the unedited fatty version, which is the only version I have. And the only version I'm probably going to get. And then I'll just move on from there about these books in publication order. So that's how I'm going to do it. And of course, I will give you my thoughts on every single Stephen King book as I read them. Yeah. There is another booktuber that I like quite a bit, AJ Dunn, who's doing a similar project. But I think he's just doing the novels that were released under Stephen King's name, which is still a lot of books. So yeah, as I come to the books that he's reviewed, I might link his videos down below. AJ Dunn Reads and Writes. Great booktube channel. Just so you get two different viewpoints, if you're interested in that, on these books as I go along. So yeah, Stephen King. I got a lot of work and reading ahead of me, and it should be interesting. I was shocked and dismayed, I admit, when the spinner landed on Stephen King, because that's a lot to take on. But now I'm kind of looking forward to it. It should be kind of fun, actually. So that's coming up. So yeah, that's my video for today. Thank you for stopping by once again at stately Vaughan Manor. Next couple days, I'm going to try to get up tomorrow my Dark Knight Returns, the read-along that Mayberry Book Club and Steve Donahue are doing, that I hopped up on and was supposed to get that video out yesterday. That should, I hope, come out tomorrow. Day after that, which would be Saturday, I think, is going to be my review of this book, Time Out of Joint by Philip K. Dick. This is a good book. So I want to get that review out there, and then it'll be the Sunday Penguin and Mythos Mondays. It just goes on and on. Thanks, guys. I will catch you next time.